Hey, my lovelies. Fat Joe interviews Kodak Black and Lil Wayne's attorney, Bradford Cohen. Attorney Cohen is working on getting a pardon for both Kodak Black and Lil Wayne. Let's check out this interview. I have timestamps in the description if you like to get to the nitty gritty. So let's get this coffee and tea. Let's get with it.
You know, I looked at your Instagram and you love Kodak Black. And so like, no. Yo, I've never seen an attorney love a client more. What's your special relationship between you and Kodak?
He's just a great kid, it's like I get to see a side of him that most people don't. When you have, and I care about all my clients. I don't want to say that I don't care about all my clients. I care about all my clients. The relationship I have with Kodak grew over those years because I'm watching him grow up, right? And I'm watching him grow up in the system, and I'm trying to give him the advice that, like, he says I'm like his dad, but I like to think I'm like an older brother. But I turned 50 in May. But
of course, man, I got you beat, man.
But I try to give him the advice because I've seen it. I've seen what happens, and that's why, Joe. I always thought I watched your interview with 6ix9ine, right? And I always thought, God, Joe gets it. Like he's been there, he's done it, and it's like I wish. And I'm sure when you were younger, you wish an older you would have pulled you aside and said, bro, like, this is what happens. This is how the feds work. This is how state work. This is how they get you caught up in the system. They get you on probation, and that's just, it is a game. It's a losing game. And then they keep, as you're on probation, you keep getting these little things that, like, and then they wait, and they know that they're going to catch you, and then they catch you by the feds, and that's it. And then they yank your card. So, like, I had that relationship.
So what I learned a long time ago, and we're going to talk some real stuff, right? And everybody, this is attorney for Lil Wayne and Kodak Black. Very loyal to his clients. And so what I learned was, forget me. I know I'm going to be all right. I'm not doing nothing wrong. But now, if I'm the fed, I'm looking at the crew around. I'm looking at the friends.
There you go.
If this guy's selling drugs, this guy's robbing people, this guy's robbing, we fucked. Regardless if I'm clean.
Correct.
And Correct. So that's what I learned at a very early age. Is like, unfortunately, even though I love the hood and I love all my friends, if you doing dirt, I'm actually doing you a favor, not getting you hot.
Correct.
Not hanging out with you.
Correct. That's why when I watch, like, you make so much sense. I enjoy watching your show because you make sense. You understand how it works. You understand how this all happens. In Kodak's case, it was little things that just added up. And like I said, like, the relationship I have with Kodak, why it's so special is because, Kodak and I, like, talk about, national news, different events. I tell him, oh, hey, I'm watching just recently. I talk to him once a week. And I'm talking to him on the phone, and I said, there's this guy, Dave Portnoy, right, from Barstool Sports. And I said, hey, this guy, he's got this thing called the Barstool Fund. It's unbelievable. He's, like, helping these restaurants, helping these small businesses. He says to me, make sure you take care of them. Like, I'm not telling him these things for him to do these things. He just says, like,
I spoke to Dave last week.
He's great. He's great. So, like, and like, I'll say, hey, man, I was just watching the news. I watched something crazy on the news last week. There was a police officer that someone blew through a red light, killed the guy. He has 3 young kids. He says, oh my God, I can't believe that. I go, I know, I was watching, it's crazy. We move on to another conversation. At the end of the conversation is, hey, call up my guy, make sure those 3 kids are taken care of. Like, he'll do that stuff all the time. So, like, I see things from Kodak that you can't read on paper. You got judges and state attorneys and people that read on paper, and this goes to anybody. This goes to
it happened to me, right? I got in trouble. Look, I've done many things. A trillion things in the world you can't even imagine. And
Sure.
thank God, that's the past. But I got arrested one time for taxes, something I didn't even do. I had an accountant. He did Ponzi schemes.
I know all about your case. I read your case.
So what I'm saying to you is, but when I went to court, right, the judge was like, you're a remarkable guy. You're incredible. You take care of all these people. You give back to people. He said, but I gotta give you this time.
Right.
But you know, at least when you and they said to me, right, this was off the record. They said to me that she said to my attorney, like, I'm thinking he's this gangster rap asshole. And when I'm looking at this paper, I'm looking at he's supporting everybody, taking care of he's actually a great guy, this guy.
Right. You know, and like on Kodak's case, like people don't really understand, Kodak essentially got charged with lying on a form. So he was filling out, he took the advice of this ex-cop that he knows. And this ex-cop is like, listen, you're good to go, because he is not a convicted felon. At the time he was filling out this form, he wasn't a convict. So like he's filling out this form, and one of the questions is, do you have a prior criminal offense or a current criminal offense that would affect interstate commerce? I'll guarantee you 90% of America doesn't know what affects interstate commerce. And if I give a small education to all the people out there, everything affects interstate commerce. You know, you rob a bank with a gun that's made in Virginia and you're in New York, that affects interstate commerce. You know, so everything does.
New York is real tricky because New York, we got the George Washington Bridge, and everybody really lives in Jersey.
Right.
So you almost think it's the same street, but it ain't. It's international commerce.
Correct. You are correct. So you cross that bridge.
How did you link up with Lil Wayne?
Wayne I've known for a long time, and I've just been helping with little things here and there. So I've known him a long time. You know, back in the day, you know, just little things. And like, it's like all my clients, right? All my clients, I help them with small things, and sometimes it turns into big things. So, you know, like right now, like one of my clients might start off as a criminal defense client, and then they realize, oh, this isn't for me, and they move on into a business client. Sometimes they're a business client, and then they move on to criminal clients. So like, it's kind of like
you specialize in you ain't just a criminal defense attorney. You specialize in several things.
Yeah. So my office does just about everything: commercial litigation and criminal defense. So a lot of times it's intertwined, where, you know, if someone gets charged criminally, they might get sued civilly. Like we just handled a case for Deondra Baker, who's used to play for the Giants. He got cut from the Giants, and now he's playing for the Chiefs. He actually just broke his leg, but he got charged with an armed robbery. Young kid, 20 years old, went to a dice game, like, and that's why I always tell everybody, like, the best client I ever had that was good at this was O.J. McDuffie from the Dolphins, right?
My guy, O.J., he was my neighbor in Plantation.
I know. You don't remember me, but I met you a long time ago. And
Carter, O.J. McDuffie, the whole
that's it. You're right. So like, those are all my guys too. And O.J. was the best at knowing when there was going to be trouble and getting up and walking away. You never saw O.J. if the fight broke out. Always a smart guy, and always knew it's time to leave, right? So like, I always tell my clients, like, don't put yourself into a situation where you know it's going to go bad. Don't go to a dice game. Don't go to some place where you know it's going to go bad. Now, if you're at a bar and it goes bad,
I can tell everybody else a secret too. If you do go to, most of the crime happens from 2 in the morning to 4 in the morning, and it happens at a nightclub. Most people, unfortunately, get killed at a nightclub or leaving there drunk. And so me, anytime I've had to be at a nightclub, I've always known to get out of there.
Right.
Don't like, when I leave that club, I gotta get in that car. And I cannot hang out in front and talk.
No, and that's the smart thing. And that's the same thing with like OJ, Kajana, all those guys always knew, like, okay, it's time to get out of here. Because it's just nothing good happens after a certain hour.
Okay, let me ask you the question that anybody who's tuned in right now wants to know.
Sure.
You KODAK Black's attorney, you Lil Wayne's attorney. Everybody saw the picture with Lil Wayne like this, with Donald Trump. Everybody saw him with the cardigan sweater like this.
Yeah.
He's my brother, and I hope you can tell me some good news.
Yeah, I mean,
we've been thinking he's gonna get a pardon. Are you working towards that? Is that correct?
Yeah, listen, we're working. You know, all the paperwork is in on everybody. We're gonna see how it all turns out. And listen, the most important thing when it comes to like different politicians and different things, and I'm a big dialect guy, you know, because I think opening up a conversation, opening up an avenue to discuss things, you know, people. I've always thought after a certain point in my life, I realized there's more power in a pen than there is in a fist. So like,
there's more power in communication than anything else. Because the minute you cut the ties and you don't talk to nobody, then nothing gets done. Communication is better. The question I'm really trying to get you to answer is, have you been talking to Trump's team about pardoning Lil Wayne and KODAK Black?
I've certainly had conversations and advocacy on behalf of both, and I'm hoping that everything winds up the way that it should wind up. I think that it's fair on both parties, that both parties get a commutation and a pardon, because like I said, especially when you look at, you know, the crimes committed, and I'm a big proponent of the Constitution. Like I think it's an amazing document, right? So when someone says to me, hey, this guy got convicted of a grand theft from 2005, and since that he got that, he can't ever have a weapon. I think that's bullshit. Like, I think that non-violent convicted felons should be able to bear arms. I think the Constitution allows for it. I think it should be allowed. I think that all convicted felons that were non-violent convicted felons should have the right to vote. I think they should be able to vote. I think after you pay your debt to society, I believe personally that you've paid your debt to society. It's time to move on. It's time to restore some of those rights, to allow that person to have some sort of life after this all happens. And this isn't just about Kodak's case. This isn't just about, you know, little things here and there. I always talk about justice reform and prison reform because I am a true believer in that we can fix this system. I know that we can. I know that we can work together to fix this system. And I don't care if you like a person in office or don't like a person in office, or it's a person who's a Democrat, Republican. I don't care about those things if someone is willing to open their ears and I can open my mouth and they'll listen to me. So like that's where my heart is, and that's why, you know, I take Kodak's case so personally, is because I really do think he got a rough deal. And I was talking to him before he took that plea, and I was like, listen, please go to trial on this. This is a good case. Like, I think I can beat this case. And he was of the opinion that, you know, he just wanted to get out of people's way. He thought that, you know, they would look at what he did and the type of person that he is and give him a lot less time. And to the judge's credit, which I think his judge is a good judge. I've been in front of him before. To his judge's credit, that judge thought that he was, even though he was giving him the 46 months, he was asking for different programs for Kodak to get into that would have lessened his sentence by at least 18 to 20 months. So in the judge's mind, he thought that, okay, he's going to do 24, 26 months. But what ended up happening was, once the Bureau of Prisons got him, they put him in a maximum security prison with no programs, no college education programs, nothing like that. So you know,
was this case violent enough to go to a maximum security prison?
no, the case itself was not. But what they did
I know
is
guys for 20 years that get
right.
that's in a fucking medium.
Right. You're absolutely right. So what they do is BOP looks at the age of the individual, so that's a strike against you. If you're under 25, they automatically bump you up because they think that you might be more violent if you're under 25. That's the first thing. That's the first strike against you in the federal system. Then he had prior criminal history that on paper looks horrible, right? He has a case from when he was like 14 or 15 for kidnapping, and you're like, holy shit, kidnapping. Like, that's a serious case. But when you pull the actual police report, and this, I did not represent him on this case because I would have never pled him on this. Mm-hmm. When you pull the police report, 5 kids broke into his mom's house. He found out who the 5 kids were. He drives around the neighborhood, he picks up the 5 kids, takes away their phones, and makes them apologize to his mom. That was a kidnapping case. It's in the police report. It's not like I'm making that shit up.
It's horrible because the minute you grab somebody like that, they, especially now, they consider that kidnapping.
Right.
You know, and it's really not in normal context. It's not considered kidnapping at all. But anything you do like that, when you hold someone against their will, they consider that kidnapping.
I'll tell you, but what the best part about that case, and this is not really the best part because it's a sad story about that case, is that 3 of the 5 that broke into his mom's house, they're serving life in prison. They killed the guy a year later. It's fine. Listen, this shit, you can't make this shit up.
No, you can't make it up. I might even have a show once a week, one of these days that ain't gotta be called You Can't Make This Shit Up. Just every night I find myself saying you can't make this shit up. Now, let me ask you a question because I know Kodak, we're praying for him. The kids love him. He's one of my daughter's favorite. Lil Wayne's my neighbor. He's my brother. He's one of the most beautiful people I know on earth.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Right? If God forbid he doesn't get a pardon, what type of time is Wayne facing?
So I'm not handling Wayne's criminal case. I'm only handling the possibility of him getting a pardon or commutation. So in his criminal case, you know, because it's a weapon, but the way they score it, it would probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 to 26 months, something like that, 18 to 24 months. But again, like, his case is crazy too, because it's like the weapon, they can't even say the weapon was ever fired, and it is a felony from 13 years ago that he thought was broken down to a misdemeanor. Like, these are cases that like affect the bigger picture. They don't just affect the people that I'm representing. And that's the thing that I push the most, is that this could be Bob Smith, and I would still think it's unfair. It's not unfair because these people are famous, you know, and like fame, and you know this better than anybody, fame is actually a detriment, right? Because these feds, it's like you are the great white in the ocean that they want to catch, okay? They don't want the minnows, because the minnows don't get your photo on the wall. The great white gets your photo on the wall. So they look for the DMXs, they look for the Fat Joes, they look for like these, that's what they're looking for, is guys that they can put a trophy on. So like I always tell people, it is not a good thing to be under a microscope and famous. Like, everyone wishes they were famous, but like it's a tough road. So like I tell people
because it's always for one, it's always they want to set an example out of you.
Yes.
And they actually, it's the biggest story. They use the fame and all the marketing and promotions you've been building on your own name against you when it goes down.
Correct.
That's what makes, you know, I remember when I got locked up, I looked on Twitter, it might have been 30,000 Fat Joe please, Fat Joe please, Fat Joe. It was like the biggest, and it's it was really crazy because I was like, yo, this shit is like I'm the promo, like I'm the new album that came out.
many, like I always tell people, how many local state attorneys send out press releases when they arrest people? Very few. But like the feds, you'll see they got a whole division dedicated to sending out press releases when they bust people. Ja Rule got busted. Oh my God, it's the biggest thing. Now, what I love to see, and I always say this, and even if these younger guys don't listen, like I always love to see, and I say our generation, like our generation of entertainers and hip hop stars take these guys under their wing and like try. That's why I love that interview with 6ix9ine. Like you were literally like begging the kid, like you were telling him like this is how it works, bro. And it's like you were leading the horse to water, and it was already too late.
Well, you can show all your clients that interview as like, OG rapper advice 101. And,
yeah.
And with me, my whole the purpose for the show is I've given my life to the people. And my flaws and my failures and my triumphs, I've always been transparency and an open book. And hopefully I can say certain things that a kid can pick up on and not make the same mistake that I made.
Yeah.
And I told 6ix9ine the true story. I had a guy that was begging to give me $2 million and couldn't walk past the 50 guys I had standing in front of me. Was like, you can't talk to the Don. You can't talk to the Don. Bro, the man was like, yo, I could not believe I had $2 million to give you and I couldn't get through your goons. And so I remember when I told him, because I don't really talk about 6ix9ine no more. He's not really in the Fat Joe.
I got you.
He's not in my
universe.
He's nothing, right?
Right.
And so, but I remember telling him, and he told me, yo, it's all a lie. I don't do these things. I'm telling you, I'm not. Behind the scenes, trust me, I don't do nothing. Next thing I know, he gets locked up. And with me, it's easy for me. I had a rough time growing up. A lot of my friends, my best friend is still doing life in jail. My best friend on earth as a human being is in jail for life. Nothing I can do. Fat Joe's money, nothing I can do. I looked in with every lawyer you can think of, the best of the best. Joe, there's nothing we can do. Right now. And so I can't have a dream of my guy, he already did 26 years. I can't have a day where he can come home and I can be like, look what we did, bro. Look, this is yours. I can't share that moment with him. You get what I'm saying?
100%.
And so when I turn around and I say, listen, bro, I tell all of you out there, if you can't do the crime, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. And me personally, I don't want to do the time. So I don't drive without a license. I don't cross in between green. I don't drink with a 40 ounce of, I'm not doing nothing.
Right.
And that's not being a punk. That's being smart.
Right. But some don't, like I said, you can't make anyone listen. You can only give, I give the best advice I can to all my clients, right? And I was just talking to one today, and I was like, listen, he's like, I don't like any of my choices. Like, I don't like any of my choices. I said, I get it. I said, I'm just giving you those options, and I'm telling you, in my experience, what your best option is. You got to listen to me. It's just like a doctor. You don't like what that doctor says? Go get a second opinion. I'm not hurt by it. But like, I'm going to tell you in my experience of doing this, this is what it's going to happen. This is how it unfolds. This is what goes on. And some people listen, some people don't.
I don't like to fly. But the minute them wheels go up and that motherfucker just came off the ground, I'm on the plane.
Right.
There's no way around it.
Right.
The minute the wheels go boom and that shit is going like this, that's it. You in for a ride, baby. Like, have a drink. So you got to handle that. And
what I said.
And that's what happens. And I just think that a lot of people love the life, love the flash, the overnight success, or whatever the thing, and they don't really realize. Like, I watch guys drive around my hood in Lamborghinis and pop champagne every night. And 8 years later, when they get caught, they're like, yo, what did I do? The fuck you mean did you do? You never had a job in your life.
Right.
You driving Lamborghinis, popping champagne.
Right.
And
Right.
what the fuck, bro? It's time, baby. Like, you had a 7-year run.
Well, I'll tell you something really funny, and not to get off my subject of prison reform and justice reform, but for a minute, when I first started, I had a client, and he wouldn't touch anything but weed. That's all he would sell is weed, right? He wouldn't touch a single other thing. But he drove a Honda. He wasn't flashy. This guy stayed in the game for like 4 or 5 years. Finally gets busted. We go in through the whole 9 yards. We do blah blah blah. He ends up getting like 18 months. And I said, what do you think of the deal? He's like, it's perfect. He's like, listen, I'm out of the game. He's like, that's it. It's done for me. I buried my money. I'm gone. Guy lives in Costa Rica now. And he owns a surf shop in Costa Rica. But the guy was out of here. He was done. But he was the smartest, because it's like, everybody thinks like I get in this game to get the attention. But nowadays, with Instagram, with Twitter, with everybody having a camera, with all this stuff, like everybody's doing stuff and putting it on Instagram. Like, I can't tell you how many young potential entertainers I represent that get busted because of Instagram.
Let me ask you a question. Do they use these Instagram clips in court?
Oh, 100%. Not only do they use the Instagram clips in court, I've represented kids that the FBI, the ATF now has experts that they zoom in on the weapon let's say it's a music video. They zoom in on the weapon, they get the serial numbers, they run the serial numbers, it's a real weapon. They arrest you because you had possession of a weapon in a music video. Like, I'm telling you, it's next level shit.
See, I'm not savvy. I didn't know shit like that exists.
Oh yeah, it is next level stuff. So like, I always warn everybody, like, this generation of internet users, of Instagram users, of Twitter users, like this generation, they're their own rats. They rat on themselves. They film themselves at shooting ranges. They film themselves with guns. They film themselves with money and drugs. And it's like, they think that nobody's watching, but people are watching. So like I said, I wanted to come on here to espouse, criminal reform and justice reform and prison reform. I think it's so very important that your audience really, even if they're young and they don't, they think they don't have a voice, they do have a voice. Like, that's the one good thing, in my opinion, of the internet. Makes everybody have a voice. Everybody could be heard. Like, we have a website of freekodak.com, and it's got all who to at the White House, at POTUS, that they can tweet, they can put on their Instagram, whatever. And that makes a difference. People see it. It makes a difference.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Whether he gets a pardon, whether he does his time,
yeah.
Is he gonna change? Is he gonna stay away from the bad crowds? Is he gonna change? Is he really like? Do you get disappointed when you fight with somebody and you make something happen and then maybe something happens, and you see your guy again, and of course, is he telling you he's gonna change?
You asked me multiple. Let me address everything. Do I get disappointed? Yeah. On any of my clients, I always feel like I want to do my very best for them because I think they're right around the corner from changing. I want to do my very best for them because I see their kids and I say I don't want that kid to grow up thinking his dad's a jailbird, thinking his dad's a felon. I'm thinking about that. I see their mom crying. I see their dad crying. You know, so I think, man, you know, I got to do my best for this person because I want to make sure that their family is taken care of. I think of their family, because that makes me the most upset is when someone does something and it affects their family because they're just innocent bystanders. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, I get disappointed. Now, that being said, all of my clients I treat like I would treat a family member. Kodak, like I said, is special. So, like, when I represent Kodak and I see that he did something, yeah, I get disappointed. And even it's weird, but when I go see him, he like puts his head down, like he knows, like he doesn't want to see me disappointed. Right. So like he knows that. Now, these conversations I have with him now, I know that he's ready. Like sometimes you gotta realize, like he's in a maximum security prison.
Now you gotta go through it, bro. You gotta look.
Right.
Life is not about failures. It's
correct.
all about lessons.
Right.
And it's
So
only preparing you for the future. We all fucked up. We all was dumb. I could get you 100 people from the Bronx to tell you Joe was a fucking bum. Joe was a piece of shit. Joe was I can give you 100 of them right now.
Right.
And,
right.
But the thing is, I grew and I matured and I realized I got to be here for my parents. I got to be here for my family.
Right.
I got to be here for my community that looks up to me. So
right.
I have to walk straight and
right.
show them that hip-hoppers aren't just criminals. That hip-hoppers aren't just drug users. That we're family men. And we take care of our family. And so that's the mission I'm on, right? But it takes failures. It takes shit to happen to click so that you can really, really realize what's going on. And I hope this time, Kodak, because I know you love him. I know you in this corner
all the time.
Yeah, I know he ain't just a client to you. He ain't just a check.
No. I always back Kodak up. And like I said, I know he screws up. And I told the judge that. You know, it's funny. I told this judge, like, I know he screws up, but you know, this kid's got like a heart, you know, that a lot of people don't realize. And I think this time around, I talked to him. He's ready. Like he wanted to take college courses while he's in prison. Like they just don't offer him in the prison he's in. You know, he wants to take drug rehab, things like that he knows would benefit him. And you know, you struck on something very important, Joe. And it's about like when you were growing up, right? So nobody can walk a mile in your shoes. Nobody knows what you saw growing up. No one knows what you saw in your hood. No one knows that you saw someone get hurt when you were 7 or 8, or you saw your best friend get shot, or something else happen, some crazy shit, right? So nobody knows that, and no one addresses it, you know? So like these younger kids that become famous when they're 17, 18 years old, it's a double-edged sword, right? They become famous because of the shit that they've seen. Like they're more mature than beyond their years because they saw that shit, right? So they write about it and they rap about it and they talk about it. But then no one addresses it that like, hey, this is some serious shit. Like guys come back from Iran and Iraq and they're screwed
PTSD.
up. Like, right. So like
no, it's PTSD.
Right.
PTSD.
Right.
No guarantee.
I guarantee it. And nobody addresses it. So like when I talk to like Kodak, when I talk to my guys that are young, that I know come from these neighborhoods, that I know they saw stuff that they don't want to even share with me, right? And I'm not going to share it with your audience, but
And I got a picture. Let me tell you something. There's a picture in my mother's house, in her bureau, with me and about 15 kids. I'm the only one alive in the picture.
So you get it. You get it. Like
in my mother's house.
Right.
On the fucking mirror. And she'll be like, remember Joselito, remember Frankie, remember Little Raheem? The whole picture's dead.
Right. So
I know this ain't normal shit.
Right. Right.
It's not normal.
No. And but when you try to explain that, you know what I'm saying? Like you try to explain that to people that, you know, judges, like normal judges, normal prosecutors, and I'm not saying everybody. There's some prosecutors that grew up in some shitty ass places, and there's some judges that grew up in some shitty ass places that they take the bench and they prosecute cases and they understand it, right? And that's why I never judge anybody, because I don't know, some judge that I'm sitting in front of, all of a sudden I found out, holy shit, he grew up in a neighborhood that's worse than any neighborhood that I ever grew up in, and he's a real guy.
Let me tell you something. When I went in my courtroom, no disrespect, Your Honor, when I saw her hairdo, she looked like Pat Benatar from the 80s, I knew I was fucked. Yo, when she didn't have like when I seen the Pat Benatar, I said, oh, I'm fucked. Like, she does not like lean back. I was fucked.
Right, but you get it, right? So there's some judges that can totally relate, and there's some judges that, like, they can't imagine it. They can't imagine that this kid grew up in this, and they need to see some help. That's why I'm saying, like, these programs to stop that shit from happening before these kids go to prison, go to jail, when they're in the juvie system. The juvie system shouldn't be a system that keeps churning and burning and putting them on probation. And so the juvie system should be like, hey, let's see if we can stop this shit. Let's see if we can cut it off here. When I was a kid, I get into a fight at school. It's like a fight at school when we go home. Now you get in a fight at school, you go to juvie. So it's like, it's a different world. And like that is not a good thing. When you
I tell you one thing. I am living proof. I'm writing a book about my life now. We on our 21st chapter. 21. I am living proof. When it comes out, police purchase it. I am living proof that you can change. And the craziest shit in the world can happen to you. The most craziest things you believe of, and you can still change. And you can still give back to your community. You can still love people. I believe in redemption. I believe in change. And America has a big problem with believing that someone can change.
Yeah.
Especially a high-profile person. Listen, I'm gonna leave it. Let me ask you one little small question, and then the last one question. So you only have like a week to find out if they have these pardons, right?
Sure. Yes.
And so everybody up here watching, we're gonna have major prayers for KODAK Black. Prayers to hope they get pardoned. I need all of us to pray for these kids to get pardoned. Now I got a last question for you. It's a fun question. You're looking real blurry. Have you seen this show, Your Honor?
No.
Oh my God.
It's called Your
Honor. It's called Your Honor on Showtime. Bro, let me take the hat to you.
You gotta take your hat for this.
Me just talking to you for an hour, you would fucking love this show.
All right.
It's amazing. This
All
is
right.
Check it out. It's called Your Honor. It's about a judge. I don't want to tell you everything, but he's a judge in New Orleans, and he got a good heart. But you gotta watch. You gotta watch.
I will. Listen. Number one is I will watch it. Number two is what's funny is one of my good friends just became the state attorney for New Orleans.
It's the craziest shit. Listen to me. You gotta binge watch Your Honor. It's the most amazing show on TV right now, and it's about a judge. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Heavy corruption, heavy.
I will watch it 100%. And by the way, I do want to thank a couple people that are always in Kodak's corner. Little Yachty, he's been tweeting out. Gucci Mane's been tweeting out. Little Pump's been tweeting out. Blood Raw's been tweeting out. Trayvon Mullins from the Raiders, he was tweeting out. Lamar Jackson from the Baltimore Ravens. Like, people are really getting behind Kodak. I just love it. Listen, I love to see. I'm a big fan of people coming together for a cause and for the right cause. And like I said, this is bigger than Kodak. This is bigger than Wayne. we want to see this type of change so that I want to keep doing stuff like this. I want to keep seeing people, that I feel really deserve to get out behind this rock, and I can help them do it. Like the DMX is, I represented DMX when he's in Miami, and I happen to love DMX, and I always feel that he's around the corner from redemption. Like, I always think.
Yeah, I hope so too. Shout out to Mary Richmond. That's his #1 lawyer up in the Bronx.
Yeah,
Mary Richmond is a living legend.
Richmond is the best.
A living legend.
A living legend.
Call me in there and talk to me
with the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah,
the Statue of Liberty.
Come in and I sit down with Murray, and Murray would be like, "Yo, man, DMX is about to go in next week. God damn, this one. Gyro, Joe, why the fuck why they not like you, Joe? These guys are crazy." I'm like, "Yo, Murray." I'm like, "Yo."
Is Murray still alive? He's the greatest.
Yes, he's 80 years old, and
he's
still active. His daughter Stacy is still active. They're very active.
Greatest. He was the one who sent me DMX's cases in Miami, and he was the greatest. I mean, we had long talks. He's a great, great lawyer. Murray Richmond in New York is great. And Drew Finling in Atlanta. He's another one of my big. I love him. He's another great one. He's Gucci's lawyer in Atlanta.
All right, my brother. Thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate
Thank you for having me.
Please work hard. I love Lil Wayne and KODAK Black. Hip hop. Thank you for representing our guys.
We'll get there. Thank you for having me, Joe.
All right, my brother. Thank
you. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye. And everybody needs to see Your Honor. And you don't know who I know. You don't know who I know.
Thank you for watching. Remember to click that like and subscribe button and come back for more videos.